Don't worry, 49er fans. The 49ers definitely have a plan. They just won't say what it is. What's up? Welcome to All Niners Talk Live. That's Jose Sanchez. I'm Grant Cohn. Check us out on SI, www.si.com/NFL/49ers. So there's news. John Lynch spoke yesterday. He was at the Stanford Pro Day, and there's some writers there. They were like, "Hey, John," they just did this. They were like, and he was like, "No, I know what you're saying. We got a plan." You know what I'm saying? And there's a thing called a draft, and we have a lot of draft picks. And that's all he would say. Apparently, the 49ers plan is to replace 9 starters with rookies and second-year players. Is that the plan? Do you think that's what do you discern here?
It reminds me of that Dark Knight when Joker's like, it's all part of the plan. The mob has plan. Gordon's got plans. They're schemers. controlling their little world.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 49ers are trying to be schemers, all part of the plan, just like Joker. And they're just looking at the draft like, hey, we're going to draft them all. We're going to start them all. I mean, it's a bold plan, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for them. I mean, I guess they're just simply copying the recipe that the Rams did. I guess even to a degree that the Bills did last year. Yeah, this actually past season. I think once his comments said that, it pretty much confirms like, okay, yeah, all those reports of like, because the way they were moving and those reports, it's like, are we at a reset? Are they pretty much kind of like calling it like a mailed-in season? But he essentially confirmed that a mailed-in season, the fact that like, okay, you let go of 2 solid start. It's Malik Collins one's the one I was a little more like, what? Like Floyd, I get it. He gives you nothing in the run game, and he's only like a spot pass rush specialist. So I didn't mind that one. But I think pretty much overall, all those comments pretty much said like, hey guys, yeah, don't expect nothing from us. Whatever the core we have now, and we're just gonna plug and play. You're gonna have to get used to some new names, or we're gonna have to try to coach them up. I just think like that's cool, great, good. Probably a year too late, but like, are you guys gonna successfully like even find multiple adequate starters and have a bunch of young rookies on the defensive line alone?
I think it's pretty clear that the 49ers don't like view the vast majority of their team as replaceable and unnecessary. Like it could be Devondre Campbell, it could be D. Winters. I don't think the Niners look at last year's down season as like a result of them having the wrong players who are non-stars. I think they look at it and they're like, well, Christian McCaffrey was hurt. Trent Williams missed a lot of time. Brandon Ayuk, like, what do you want from us? Like, our main guys were down. And if Christian McCaffrey's healthy, if Trent Williams is healthy this year, you're not really going to care who the weak side linebacker is if it's not Dre Greenlaw, because we have our core. We have our core. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I feel like the Niners core is getting older. And a big reason they weren't that good last year is that the depth was non-existent. They used to have Jimmy Ward, Azeez Al-Shaair, Samson Ebukam, like this middle class of players that's just kind of gone now. I don't know.
It feels like by utilizing, we talked about this last week too, like, are they really going to look at this upcoming draft as like, these are replacement players? And it's like, it's still bold, but it's like, all right, well, I guess that's the way they're going to learn. So I think it kind of feels like almost they're expediting their next core, because their core now, like you said, it's the McCaffreys, it's the Trent Williams, it's the Fred Warner, the George Kittle, and like, 2 of the best ones there, McCaffrey and Williams, are towards the end of their careers, especially Williams, right? Injury prone. McCaffrey still, no matter what, going to be that scary variable. That's kind of why, like, I wrote the other day, like, hey, the 49ers might end up regretting trading Jordan Mason. Not because, like, they can't find like another decent back, but I think it's the fact that finding a decent back is still a variable to them. I know they have a pretty decent track history of finding them, but it's like, look, $5 million for 1 year, like, McCaffrey might get hurt, week 4, and then now you got Grendo. Grendo's hurt again too, because Grendo looks like a low-key injury-prone player. Oh, Israel Abanikanda, like, okay, but there's no guarantee. There's basically not a lot of guarantees. Whereas Jordan Mason, you have like, look, he's still young, ascending, and you can say the same thing. He's a little after like week 7, like he started getting hurt. But it's like, yeah, like, but now he knows what to build upon. Now he knows where to improve. So I think like it's just about going to all these rookies and having fill them out. Like, it's like a both I like it and I don't. It's like, because you're putting so much pressure on these guys to perform, and it's like, and then you also gotta get the pick right. And there's just a lot of steps that where they're gonna have to try to hit on.
It's just hard to say you really have a cohesive plan or a plan at all when you cut use check and then took on the dead
Yeah.
cap hit to re-sign him to like the same deal. It's hard to say you have a plan when you lowball Dre Greenlaw thinking you have leverage and the market's in your favor. Then the Broncos come in and give him the deal he's looking for. And then at the last minute, you desperately try to match it and get rejected. It's hard to say you have a plan when you cut Leonard Floyd so you can make a run at signing Joey Bosa, but then Bosa signs with the Bills and Leonard Floyd signs with the Falcons and you sign no one. It's easy to say, well, we just want to get younger and go to the draft. Like, well, then why'd you sign Juszczyk back? It doesn't really feel like there's a cohesive plan. It's basically, it sounds like what he's saying is, look, we had a really bad free agency. I can't explain it, but this offseason isn't over yet. Give us another chance.
Yeah, I think that's one of his comments too. Like when he says, like, "Oh yeah, we still got the draft. We're just gonna retool." And like, damn, like he's like, "Oh, we got 11 picks." It's like, yeah, but you're really gonna like be like, "Yeah, our 7th round pick is we're gonna throw him into the fire." Like again, like how many of these guys are gonna be starters / actual integral role players? It's the whole reason why last year's draft was so raved about and so impressive. It's like, wow, the Niners actually found 4, maybe 5 adequate players / starters. It's like, wow, now imagine what year 2. So those guys are going to probably take on a larger impact and role. And then you got to hope that maybe you hit on at least 4, that's what you're looking at least 4 guys to start. Because like you mentioned, they lost a lot of starters. And I just think like, as much as like, I don't mind that plan of like, we're going to pull in all these rookies and we're going to try to find out who's going to be our next core of those guys. It still feels like you should find like at least like a couple of veterans somewhere. Like Malik Collins probably could have stayed on and just been like that veteran, like that guy you need. Because I feel like every young team needs that, you know. And just because, and I hate the whole thing about like, oh yeah, the Rams did it, so the 49ers doing it. Like, well, just because it worked for them doesn't mean it works for you. Like just like the same way when the Rams, you used to say F them picks, right? Like, okay, that worked for them. It's not going to work for all 31 other teams. It's not going to work too much for the 49ers. Like the same advice, the same process is not going to work for them. So I mean, maybe it does, but I just think like I just would feel more comfortable. Like, yeah, maybe a few proven veterans to get them in there because again, they might get hurt too, and then those rookies come up and play the same way this past season happened.
I agree with that. And one more thing, this is Kyle Shanahan we're talking about. So John Lynch can say the plan is to get younger and play young guys, but it's Kyle. So if he drafts a bunch of he could draft 14 players. Kyle Shanahan's going to start your Tour Gross Matos, and Jordan Elliott week 1. You know he will. And when we ask him why, Jordan Elliott's starting over the 2nd round pick, he's going to be like, well, you don't just walk onto a football team and start day 1 over Jordan Elliott. I mean, that's you know what I mean? I mean, he needs to do that stuff with Cassius Marsh. I'm a little skeptical that Kyle Shanahan's all of a sudden going to be like, yeah, man, let's start 8 rookies. He's never been that way.
Yeah,
ever.
That's a perfect example. That's the other element too about like, dude, so wait, so you're gonna fill your team key spots or just whatever, a bunch of spots with these rookies or 2nd-year players, but in years past, like that was never Kyle Shanahan's MO. That's where it goes back to like saying things like, dude, he's gonna have to adjust. Is he? What if he is actually along with this all, but he's like, I can't do this guy. We gotta wait till like week 7. And I think that might be the thing. I really do think like it's looking more and more like, yeah, I think 2025, they're pretty much saying like, yeah, we're just going to try to compete and try to grow for the years to come because they probably looked at the free agent class and look, it wasn't attractive. It wasn't that great. There's probably only 7 real nice free agents you wanted to sign. And even then they got paid an astronomical amount aside from maybe like a DJ Reader and Milton Williams. I'm not sure like how many others I would have felt like, yeah, the Niners got to get that guy. I didn't really feel like there was anyone like that on the offensive side of the ball, especially. So I think they probably assessed that and said, look, free agency, nah. Hell of our players, nah, like we're not gonna resign Hufanga. That's why I think like that's why the Dre Greenlaw one. Notice how Adam Schefter said that. Whoever on Pat McAfee show, whoever he said that for, how he said, oh, the Niners try to swoop in the last minute. That seems like a very San Francisco Giants thing to do. Hey, we were in on him. We tried. That was like PR control. I remember texting my cousin too. Like he was like, oh, they tried signing him. I was like, yeah, but what they pretty much did was trying to do damage control with the PR, like saying like, we tried, guys. We tried, so don't hate us because they know how great and beloved a player Dre Greenlaw is. Yes, he was hurt last year, and you know there's some risk, but I'm still to this day like that's a guy you risk rolling the dice and just seeing it, and if it doesn't plan out, it's like, hey, you know what? D Winters is there. It goes to the same thing about like I like signing at least a couple more veterans. Doesn't matter, at least someone adequate to start the season off. Because again, what if it doesn't work out with those guys? What if they get hurt? What if there's so many elements of you just putting it on those rookies, and then what happens if those rookies get hurt? Who's going to back them up? You know, it's more than just can't start 11 players from the draft as if they're going to actually like hit, because some of them aren't even going to be role worthy. It's just so much assumption to that all that these guys are actually going to be those players that they need.
Yeah, like they're that great at drafting. JDM, I mean, they did a good job last year, but the 3 previous drafts weren't so great. JDM 408 says, did you watch Jordan Mason's Vikings conference?
Oh.
How come the Niners haven't had any conferences for their free agents? Aren't they proud of their free agents? This is a great free agent class.
Niners aren't the only team that's doing those free agent are not doing.
Can't we meet Luke Farrell? They gave him a 3-year deal. Like, he's a cornerstone player.
Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga have yet to do a presser. I keep looking. I'm like, damn, I want to see it. Travarius Ward did one. I saw it. I like that. I liked his. He looked very reinvigorated. He looked like, yeah. Just
well, I want to go watch this. Apparently, Mason says he loves KOC's offense because he knows he'll get the ball.
I need to see that. I want to see that.
Jordan Mason, man. I love that. Okay. So Lynch spoke. Kyle Juszczyk spoke. And my thing with Kyle Juszczyk is, man, he does a lot of talking for a guy who doesn't touch the ball very much, which is strange to me. Like, how did he become the spokesman for this team? But he's back and he's talking about the team, and he went on Sirius XM radio, and they really wanted to know what went through that old fullback's mind when he thought he might not be on the Niners anymore. So here's what he said about the direction of the team. He goes, the encouraging thing for me is there are a lot of stars, still a lot of stars on this team. He says, I mean, come on, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Brock Purdy, Jawan Jennings, Nick Bosa. There are some players on this squad. We're flipping over a lot of the roster, but we've got a lot of stars, a lot of key guys in place. Things can turn around very, very quickly. And I think we still have such important pieces in place. We can get the right guys in here. We can get them in our culture, how we practice, how we play, how we do things. And I think we can get this thing rolling quickly. What do you think about that?
It's typical player talk that he would say. He's supposed to be that leader on the locker room, so he's got to say that and feel that, right? And it's part of why he came back. And I'm not too against what he said in terms of like the stars. It's just the certain stars he's named. Like Purdy's not a star. Jennings not a star. Solid players, not stars. But the other guys, like, I think that's another reason why
Jennings is a star.
Who?
He said Jennings is a star. Like,
yeah. I don't think he's a star. He's a
good
player.
Yeah.
Him and Purdy's not a star. Like, they're not a star. That's what I'm saying. That's more of like player talk. He's in there in his locker room, like getting rah chesty and stuff like that. Which, yeah, he's got to talk and do that part. But I the only part I agree with, like, is like they do have like several players. They do have like a core already established and a lot of money invested in, and those guys have to stay healthy and produce. And I think it kind of connects back to where you want to find those draft picks from this year and even last year, and like, all right, who's going to be the next core? Because right now we already know it's like, okay, it's Lenore, Fred Warner still probably got a few more years. And then we got to like, it's going to be slowly to start phasing out of like the Trent Williams and the McCaffreys, which is why Greg Papa started floating that trade idea out. So his comments to me, I think the most interesting one was when it was even before Lynch talked was like, oh yeah, like, yeah, the financial restrictions, man, they're not spending. So that pretty much is a hard line. Like, yep, it's like you guys got to do it, and then we're gonna hit the draft, and then we're just gonna let it fly. They're pretty much lowering the expectations down, which should be the thing, because we saw how they were last year with all these other extra players, and that didn't work. So yeah, how about you hit the reset button and figure out with these youngsters? But I still don't know where he's going with the other stars part.
I think this core is overrated. They've been talking about this core for like 5 years. They've been holding on to this core. I mean, what is the core? McCaffrey, who's an older running back.
Warner.
Okay, Warner, who's great. Bosa's great. Trent Williams, who's old. Ayuk was, but maybe not anymore. Yeah, I just think it's like it's not necessarily any better than like the Cowboys core or whatever. And I think what my point is, like, it's not about your core, really. It's about your team. And I think they had a core last year. A couple guys were hurt, but the problem was they seemed like a fractured, kind of a toxic team that was going through the Super Bowl hangover or worse. And I think that's what they need to address. Bringing back Salah should help that. Mm-hmm. But I don't really want to hear about the core anymore. I want to hear about like one team coming together for the first time since they didn't know the rules and allegedly in overtime.
I think you maybe think of something like they were a hot top heavy team that 2023 year when they went to the Super Bowl too. That's kind of why like they flamed out, and that's part of why they lost that Super Bowl. It's like, hey, your stars were McCaffrey fumble, Williams, all this stuff. Like it's like, great, these five aren't.
You had
going
Logan Ryan on the field.
That's what, yeah, God.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's pretty again, this is why they're so now they're like, okay, yeah, that's all of a sudden this team is so draft oriented. Like, yeah, now we want to put these guys because I think they realize like, dude, we kind of messed up. Like, we were a little too late on like I'm trying to put too much into these picks emphasis. And I just think like, yeah, the way Usyk is so bought into that core, maybe even it's kind of the same thing. Like, you know, you kind of go with the cobble clicks, like, oh, that's their group, the little 7 to 8 of them, and then what about the rest?
What about
Eventually,
us? And it sucks when you realize when you're like Dre Greenlaw and Travarius Ward, and you're like, you know what? I'm not in the group. It doesn't really matter. I'm out. And I don't know why. And it sucks. It would piss me off. Like I could make every tackle. I could go to the Pro Bowl. I'm just not in. And it's just, there shouldn't be a click like that on a team. It's a team. I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's just kind of the same way, like a tenure, like when you said earlier, like, oh, what does Kyle Juszczyk do? Maybe recently he's not doing much, but at least in the beginning, it's because when you're a tenured guy, you kind of get those stripes. It's like, well, we're going to listen to him. Like, sure, he's just a fullback and isn't like as impactful the last 2 years as he was, like, you know, the first 3 to 4. But it's like your voice does kind of still carry weight. You know, like it can be the same thing for like some type of like even like what was it? Was it Matthew Slater? One of the Matthew Slater, I think, yeah, of the Patriots. He was a special teams guy, and like he was on there for years, and they all listened to him pretty rigorously. They took what his words to heart. So the same thing with Juszczyk, like, he's just fullback. But I think it's because like same thing. He knows how to talk. He's a leader. He's done things. It's like,
here's my thing with Juszczyk. It was my same issue I had with McGlinchey. So McGlinchey would often talk to the media. He'd do it a lot, and when he would talk about the whole team, and he would do it from like almost like he was John Lynch, big picture. What the team needed to do, team goals. Just like, man, why don't you just talk about not getting whooped on 3rd and 7, man? You're not good enough to be a team spokesman. You're not a captain. You're not a Pro Bowler. Like you need to just kind of focus on you and leave those questions to people like Joe Staley or Trent Williams or whatever. That to me, only a few people can talk like they're a coach or general manager on the team. Bosa does it. Warner talks like a coach, but Juszczyk shouldn't talk like that. You're not one of the best players in the team. You only play half the time. You rarely touch the ball. When SiriusXM calls you up and says, would you talk about the state of the Niners? You should be like, man, call Fred. Call George. It's kind of inappropriate for me to be talking about all my teammates when like there's 25 of them who are better than me. Who am I to talk about D winners? I mean, Malik Mustafa. He should be talking about me. Call up Malik.
He's still a great talker, so I'll disagree on that part. But in terms of like saying like let's maybe recognize the whole team, yeah, you should probably
Malik
do that.
Mustafa might be a great talker too. We'll never know because Juszczyk's hogging up the freaking spotlight.
It's really
nice
the guy's
haircut, by the way.
Huh?
Nice haircut, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make sure.
Look, if I get mine tomorrow.
Which one? The same spot? The guy who disappeared without telling you that he disappeared?
No, I'll go to a different spot. I don't want to say where I am. I got stalkers now.
Yeah, I'm one of them. I just don't get how the Juszczyk re-signing though is the one thing that like kind of confuses me. Like I always thought like, no, I always knew the writing was on the wall last year when he took that pay cut, right? Because you see like, okay, he has an out for next year, and yeah, they'll take that money hit, but they do release some salary cap, but then okay, you sign Luke Farrell. Okay, that makes sense. Cool, Luke Farrell. He's probably going to slide into that Juszczyk role to a degree, and then you bring him back. That's where I'm like, wait.
What doesn't make sense is Farrell's making more money than Juszczyk. So does that mean that Farrell's going to play more than Juszczyk?
I mean, it's also. I mean, I think only Farrell's guarantees to are also 3.5, and it's like it's not all of it's going to get. I just think it's like I'm just trying to figure out what the usage here. Like, are you just looking for?
Here's my guess: they keep Ayuk. I don't know. Let's say they keep Ayuk and wait for him to come back, and until then, they just go straight up 22 personnel all year, straight up, or. They just can't do 3 wide receiver formations because they only have Pearsall and Jennings, and they don't like Cowan clearly because he's 5'3". So they go 2 tight ends, 2 running backs more often. I don't know. Hey, look, let's take a super chat. No, wait. Let's take a super chat and keep it moving. JDM 408 says, did you watch Jordan? No. Dazza says, crazy thought. But had the Niners played the younger players last year, more winners, Cowing, etc., maybe they'd be more confident drafting this year. That's true.
I'd be more confident in the plan now because it's this like Devontae Campbell over D winners. Like I feel like, look, I get all the starting of those veterans early on, and then you bring on those guys, but most of them were kind of like forced into that because Yadam started getting hurt and was underperforming. Now you're forced to play Renardo, so I would love that. Yeah, like Howling Winters. Like I would have loved to see more of that because especially when the season was already getting lost by like December. Like I don't I just especially Jeb Cowing. I don't get how he wasn't in there. I really think I really think he's underratedly was into the doghouse. Like that's getting slept on because he missed time and a lot of time in camp. And Shanahan's always about it feels like when a player makes hella plays in the preseason and then early on, it's like, nah, we still got to see your practice habits, buddy. Like everything's got to like align. Everything's got to be structured.
And the same thing happened to Pearsall, right? Like they weren't giving him the ball. He was running routes, but they weren't calling plays for him. And then all of a sudden they started calling plays for him and he was catching passes. I felt like Cowing, every time they actually called his number, he came through, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, can't help the fact that he's 5'3". I mean, he's really good despite being.
He's a good route runner.
Yeah.
He's a really good route runner.
Okay, which free agent do you think the Niners will miss the most of the ones that they let walk?
Aaron Banks. No. No. I mean,
I was surprised the Packers signed him because they often have really good offensive lines.
I guess not. I guess they didn't like their guards or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he got I think 28 million or a little more guaranteed of his 77. So he didn't get a lot guaranteed, but that's still like for a guy coming off a very down year, that was a little interesting. Mm-hmm. But how can anyone say that it's not Dre Greenlaw? I mean, you could probably say Charvarius Ward, but to me, I don't consider Ward because he was pretty much like at the exit interview, he pretty much said like, "I'm not gonna be here." Like the Magic Johnson, he pulled that on us. But it's just like, yeah, hell yeah, I get why you're doing that, brother. You go find your piece. I'm happy for you. But Dre Greenlaw is the one where it's like, you guys had that chance. And, John Lynch spoke to you guys at the scouting combine and pretty much said like, yeah, free agency, we're trying. And it's like, after seeing the contract the Broncos gave him, he only got $11.5 million guaranteed. Like, wait, that's not that much, for a guy who of what he could potentially be. I understand. I think they looked at it too much as the glass half empty versus glass half full kind of thing. They looked more on the negative side than too much of what he could be. And maybe it's because maybe it's their own doctors who said like, look, dude, like we can't keep playing him. Like maybe he gets more in shape and he'll play more games. But I'm wondering if they got that type of advice because that's pretty much how it's looked upon, right? Like they'll ask their doctors, not so much like what they personally always think. They'll ask like, what do you guys think? Like, hey, like he might still have some more games healthy in him, but we're not sure he's going to keep sustaining himself at this level. His body's going to keep shutting down, and if he gets hurt, then okay, yeah, the 49ers will look a little smart. I just think like if he ends up playing like 14 games next year, he's putting up 100 tackles, registers a couple turnovers, and all this stuff. Everyone's going to look back and like, why did the Niners not pay that guy? If he starts balling out with the Broncos, especially if you start looking at the Niners defense by week 10, it's like they're missing that energy. They're missing that tone center. They don't have no one. Charvarius Ward himself told me, oh, he's the motor of our defense. He's the motor of our defense. I think that's the one thing you cannot replace with Greenlaw. You could probably replace his production. Can you replace what he does from a mental, energy, emotional standpoint? Because I remember seeing that Rams game, everyone pretty much played better around him. I just think that's one they're going to really be kicking themselves like, damn, maybe we should have just ponied up a little bit instead of just waiting last minute.
I mean, I didn't want them to give him a multi-year deal, and when the Broncos did, I was like, wow, that's crazy. But when you look at it, only 1 year is guaranteed. So it's like it's a 1 year deal with like a couple of team options tacked on, essentially. And if that's the way you look at it, like 1 year, $11 million, man, that's not that much money for a guy who has big time upside. I mean, we saw that he still has all of his speed and explosion and violence following this injury. He just needs time to recover and so that he can stay healthy. And I don't know that he will ever be able to stay healthy for 17 games again. I don't know. But if he does, dude, the Broncos just got a steal and you're not replacing that guy. And what's crazy about it is you could you called up Greenlaw at the end to try to match the offer. You could have beat the offer if you had just cut Kyle Juszczyk and not re-signed him to a ridiculous contract. He's 34 years old and he doesn't touch the ball. Like there's no way that keeping Juszczyk is going to cushion the blow of losing Greenlaw if he ends up being merely healthy, merely himself. So yeah, that one's tough. Greenlaw. And then Hufanga as well, dude. Hufanga, again, all he needs to do is stay healthy, and that's a 25-year-old all-pro safety that the Broncos got for nothing. That's another one.
I don't think Hufanga's one. I'm glad he left.
He hasn't been able to stay healthy, really. He was hurt in college.
It's even aside from his health, dude. I hate the way he plays safety. He just has his angles are so ugly. Like the way he just shoots from his high safety zone. I know it looks cool when he makes those big plays, and he does. But I feel like he's a roller coaster, especially this past year. And maybe you could chalk it up and say, like, you know what? he never got to hit a stride. Okay, sure, fine.
Claiming one hand. Yeah.
You can hit a stride. Yeah, that's a little tough for sure. But I'm still on the side. Like, you know what? I just don't think because he has it anymore. Because he's a roller coaster ride where he spends more time down on the roller coaster than he is up. Like his lows.
Especially the last 2 years for sure. And only had that one special year. But like, really, the Broncos kind of bought low and took flyers on two guys who could make big impacts, while the Niners took a flyer on a blocking tight end.
If you're if you're the Broncos, that's a brilliant deal. Look, those two, especially the Greenlaw one, I think they'll look like it's like, wow, those are bargain deals of number one health
with upside. That's why I like the Mac Jones deal, because it feels like there's real upside there as opposed to Luke Farrell. Best case scenario, he plays his position well, which is blocking well sometimes, and I don't even notice.
I just feel like of all the things you could have done, at least like, look, we're saving money, we're not going older. But it's like Greenlaw, like, yeah, he's not old. He was once like a really great player. Sure, we're kind of concerned about his body keeping up, but it's like he's got his Achilles torn and recovered already. You have McCaffrey, who's pretty much, is he even recovered from that? And then he's a running back, so it's like,
good point.
It's like you literally just saw one of your guys like almost tear both of them, and they're not torn, and it might, like, that's not an injury where it's like, oh yeah, it might just go. Maybe it does, but the worst part where Greenlaw's already gone. At least, like, I just forever think like, if that's a guy you just say like, he's been our guy, he's been our building, we know what he's meant to us, and production aside, he's beloved, and we know he can get. Imagine him around the youngsters you want to bring in for this draft class. That goes back to the veterans you're not signing in free agency. And I need to really start looking to see who they can probably sign, like one or two, like to a decent deal, and even so I can start naming these guys, not just pulling them out of my hat. But yeah, Greenlaw is a perfect guy. You draft a linebacker. That's who you want. That's who you want around. You want them around Drake Garland. Defensive line. That's who you want around the huddle. You want these guys to be around them. And then if you get rid of Greenlaw after a year or two, like, remember his first year's guarantee or whatever, it's pretty much a 1-year deal. That's great to be around there. Hey, what did you learn from Greenlaw? Oh God, dang, just heat seeker, all that energy. It's contagious.
And my question to you, Jose, is like, why is Greenlaw not seen as a core member of the team? Given, I mean, he was never a captain. They didn't bring him back. Why is Juszczyk seen as a core member of the team, the fullback, when Greenlaw wasn't? And to me, it seemed like he was more of a leader, more of a tone setter, more of a producer, just a flat out better player. How is that guy? I don't know. I asked my question.
No, yeah. When you put it under that microscope, it's like, yeah. Now I think that's where it goes. Like the re-signing of Juszczyk starts to be questionable. It's like, wait, so you re-sign him, and look, I'm not in agreement that Juszczyk was really worth a lot of money, but I guess in terms of like the logic of who you're bringing back, who you're choosing to bring back and let go,
that feels like roster politics.
Alone, cost aside, is like, wait, what? Like, how?
It just feels like roster politics, and we've heard players talk about this. I mean, we laugh at him when it's like, what's his face, Willie Snead or whatever. But like, this is kind of what we mean. Like, it's not necessarily a full blown meritocracy. It's a clique, and you're either in or you're out. And Greenlaw was out. He never was really in. Great player though.
And then two last things. I mean, number one, obviously, I saw Barrows talk about like, oh, maybe he wants to be the captain of his own ship. Like, okay, sure, maybe he did. But I mean, the fact that it comes to that Adam Schefter report that, hey, like, and they did persuade him, but not enough. So that means he was like, oh man. So that means to me, I take it as that if you're taking his word for face value, to me that says, okay, he would have came back if you guys didn't, nickel and dime him a little bit. So as much as he wants to be the captain,
stroke his ego a little bit, made him feel special the way they make Fred Warner feel special.
So that's that element. Yeah, of course, that can always be on the table.
The way they make Juszczyk feel special. How many press conferences do they throw Juszczyk in front of the microphone like he's the guy? Where was Greenlaw the last 5 years? He was better. He made really important plays on the Niners' Super Bowl runs. I mean, they're not even the number one seed in 2019 without Greenlaw. Not even close.
A lot of people always blame that Super Bowl loss because of Greenlaw's injury.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I don't. I think it was other things, but yeah, I think also
they might have won that game if Greenlaw could have stayed healthy. It's true. Big Tone 707 says, I know we keep skipping past it, but didn't he want to be the man? Green dot in the helmet calling the plays, the official leader of a defense, not Robin. I don't know. We haven't heard from him. You could interpret it that way, or you could interpret it as him like just not wanting to be an outsider on his own freaking team.
I just think like, yes, we could consider that, but we can't like pencil it in as that's like definitive. Just because Barrow said it is not definitive. But then I guess you could say the same thing. It's like, what are you saying about like, at believing I don't know. To me,
I don't think it's that he doesn't want to play with Warner. I think it's that he doesn't want to be freaking neglected like the Niners. I don't think it's a Warner issue. I think it's a Niner thing.
no, it's definitely not a Warner issue. It's just like I think he understands. Like, yeah, like I want to be. I want to be where you're at. I want to be where you're at, and obviously, like I don't want to knock you off.
Appreciated.
And I can't knock you off.
Just want to be appreciated. The Niners didn't appreciate him with their offer. They tried to come in at the last minute like, oh, we really do value you. No, you didn't. The Broncos do.
That when you let anytime you let your player reach free agency, that pretty much is the acknowledgement, like, hey, like we're okay with you leaving. So that's the thing that's like kind of bugs me. It's like you should have just like not even like said that, like to make it like again, it's because they know like how it looks. It's like yeah, we really shouldn't have let him go. I just think they got used to him not being there because of this. You know, when he was gone the first 11 games, they got used to. They know what it looks like. It's like you know what. Like, it was great for that one half of football he gave us, but we already know how it is to live without him, and maybe we could do without it. So I think maybe they saw that. It's like, yeah, we could do that, and that could be a cost-cutting move. Like, he costs, like I personally, I think that's the one where it's like we could pony up a little more. Just the one. You had, like, 21 free agents, and of all the ones who were worth re-signing, not Charvarius Ward, because he would have been worth it, but, you know, obviously he needed to go. Greenlaw was your guy, and it sounds like the way Adam Schefter poses his answer is, yeah, he was persuasive, but he just said, "No, I'm going to stick to you. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm already committed."
Bob Oso says the Niners' plan so far this season is to piss on the fans' heads and tell them it's raining. Well, they have someone who's really good at. They have a chief weather reporter who tells them that it's rain. Mitty Sohn says, "Jose, do you like Jake Moody? Yes or no? Yes or no?"
Why would neither. Why would I like or dislike him? I don't think he should be on the team. I don't think he should be on the team. That guy goes up there and, like, even when he makes kicks, he looks so afraid. He has the same expression on everything.
Yeah. What kind of impact do you think Demarcus Robinson is going to make this season? He's one of the more interesting signings. They're trying to get younger. He's not young, but he's good, and he's been in the system. He's played for the Rams. He's produced. What do you think?
Yeah, he said he's one of the more interesting signings. I think he's the only interesting signing for me, at least. Like I saw him, and I've been like kind of in tune with him for the last like 3 years. Randomly, it just started randomly. Honestly, I think I saw him made a play, and I remember him from the Chiefs, and I started locking in. But yeah, honestly, what they're getting is that veteran presence that I want them to add to at least a couple positions on defense. But he's like a good fill-in for Brandon Ayuk, because again, we don't know week one, is he going to be ready, and then how long is he going to take to be even close to the player he was, if ever. So with Robinson, like, look, they're getting the guy who has a vertical threat. He's interchangeable. He goes inside and out. He spent 2/3 of the plays last year lined up outside, but and third inside. So he predominates to the outside. So, but that's great. We've got kind of player you have. So that's good. Okay, cool. We can fit him in most of our plays. Vertical threat, new dynamic. Look, we might not target him because Purdy's not like, doesn't have the most amazing arm, but that's a new respect you can have. And look, one of my two favorite stats I saw from him was 27 of his 31 catches went for a first down. So either he got it or like he caught it. So I was like, okay, chain mover.
That sounds like Ayuk.
Sound like Ayuk from 2 years ago, remember?
Mm-hmm.
He also had 15.7 air yards per reception. So okay, cool.
Yep.
That guy's another
sounds like Ayuk.
Sounds like Ayuk. And you know what the other thing is? Man beater. He was one of the better man beaters, press man beaters. 16 of his catches went against press man. And all 7 of his touchdowns went against press man as well.
There you go.
4 of them, or 5 of them, came in the red zone. And I was looking at it before we had the show. 4 of them all came at near the goal line of 3 yards or less, where he's running these nasty, like, little flat routes, like quick out routes, where he's like just 1-2 step, get the corner to point his hips towards the inside of the field, and then he's gone. That's perfect, because then Purdy can just drop back and just throw it right there towards the sidelines for him to reach out and extend and grab for it. That's what the 49ers were missing last year. So now they get that new dynamic. They get us temporary fill-in like Ayuk, a little similar. And now even when Ayuk does come back, now you have an improvement on the red zone, because their red zone offense was god-awful last year. That's why I hate like so much blaming the injuries. It's like, look, like the injuries didn't really start coming to full head of steam until after midseason. The red zone offense was one of the worst in the league in the first half. With Demarcus Robinson, you have that quick separator and great release guy who can go for those touchdowns. So I'm really excited about this guy. No one should be on the same part as me, but I say at least a little excitement, because this guy adds a great a sizable, moderate, very fair improvement to the offense.
Yeah, and like my question is like, why is he here? Is he here because like this is the one veteran starting caliber player. He played like 80% of the snaps for the Rams last year. Everyone else the Niners have gotten has been backup, special teamer, reserve role.
Mm-hmm.
This guy could start. So is the thinking, well, he's here until Ayuk gets back? Possible. Or is the thinking, if we trade Ayuk, we have his replacement ready right now. We don't have to go scramble and find someone when everyone knows that we're desperate and we have to pay through the nose because we have no leverage. We already have a guy right now who can do his role. Maybe not as well as Ayuk, but we don't really know what Ayuk's going to be like when he gets back anyway.
Yeah. That's definitely on the table. It'd be you definitely have to think it's possible. It's definitely an option, especially like the way like there was reports the way it was going last month. Like, yeah, he could be had. They're not actively pursuing, but he could be had. So yeah, I think it just gives them like it gives them a lot of options. Like the one you can say like if you ever want to trade Ayuk or a temporary filling for Ayuk, and then I wouldn't just even dumb it down to that like, oh, he's just temporary filling for Ayuk. Like, no, it's like he honestly gives a good improvement to the offense because I think it's also the bigger upgrade is with Deebo Samuel gone. Like, look, now you got a guy. What couldn't Deebo Samuel do right? Beat man coverage. He was terrible at it. Now you got a guy, you flip Deebo and you put Demarcus Robinson in there, and it's like, great, this guy is actually pretty solid against man coverage, and he's great in the red zone and vertical threat. So you have a lot of great new necks that you can put to your offense.
Who do you think is more likely to start opposite Juwan Jennings, assuming Juwan Jennings is, he just had a big time season. I would assume he's going to keep starting. Pearsall or Robinson?
Yeah, man, that's actually a good question. I thought you were going to say Ayuk, and I was going to be like, wait, what? But Pearsall, yeah, man, that shit. Wow, it should be. I think it's going to be Pearsall, and then they're going to throw Robinson into those 3 wide receivers. I think they still can do a 3 wide receivers set offense. They got it. Pearsall, Jennings, him, Kittle, and then we saw a bunch of random times last year that we just see Ronnie Bell in there for like 15 snaps. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's could be Demarcus Robinson. Same thing with Chris Conley, even though Conley was a little more impactful, which is not much either. So I think yeah, that's it should be Pearsall. So I'm gonna go with Pearsall, but a nice integration with Demarcus Robinson. Because remember, Robinson played 8% of the snaps. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua were each missing at different points of the season simultaneously and then on their own accord. And he stepped up nice. He was always a good, like, we can get a good couple plays a game from him. And now it's like, no, he really is that guy who can be a fairly nice role player.
I'm just checking out his contract. I just want to compare it to Ricky Pearsall's.
2 years.
Marcus Robinson's cap number is 2 point. Oh, come on. Wait a second. So his number is 2.7, 2.1 this year, and Pearsall's is 2.8. So I guess they slide him right below Pearsall. So probably Pearsall's going to start, and Robinson will be the number 3 receiver, which means he'll catch like 20 passes this year.
Caught 31 last year, so yeah, 20 to 30 sounds about
20
that,
30
right?
passes. Okay, I like it. Let's talk about Ayuk for a second though. They're open to trading Ayuk because they want to save cash. If they were to trade Ayuk, they'd probably get a 4th round pick back at most. And as we've been discussing with Greenlaw, Hafunga, here's another guy. If he gets healthy and returns to form, you're going to hate that you traded him for a 4th round pick just so you could save some cash. So what do you think? I mean, there's no way of knowing how he's going to recover ultimately. He's due $22.8 million on April 1. Should they trade him to save the cash?
I'm sure they would love to do that, and I think that's why I feel like it's a 30% chance to trade him if they could get like a 4th or especially a 3rd. They really hated that contract. Everyone I read, Mike Silver, Tim Kawakami, it's like, wow, they really hated that. And it's like, well, you know what? You guys had a chance. They really have no one to blame but themselves for the situation. Like, you guys waited. You guys were freaking over there, like, sitting on your hands for no reason. Like, you were asleep at in the driver's seat, at the driver's wheel. For what? Like, it's not like it was unfound or new knowledge that there was, like, 15 other wide receivers due for a contract extension. But you guys chose to wait for some reason. I think even Ayuk said on a podcast, it's like, yeah, we were close, or that were reported, yeah, we were close. And then the day happened of Devontae Smith or other contracts. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, his contract happened. And then it's like, whoa, wait a second. Like, now I got a new number. And it's like, see, like, you guys, hesitation is what ruined you guys in the first
And they
place.
learned
Now,
their lesson with Lenore, right? They wanted to get that done early, right?
yes.
Before, yeah,
Lenore.
exactly.
Remember they did that with Greenlaw too, and right before the Bears game, it felt like.
right.
It's like, yeah, now I think that was the beginning of like Paraj starting to be like, no, we're gonna start getting these contracts down, because obviously Kyle and John, especially Kyle, aren't thinking about it during the season, but he can think about it because look, I can see these numbers and I'm trying to get ahead of it. Let's do that. Let's do it. And John Lenore came at a freaking cheap price, you know. That's a fringe, that's a Pro Bowl fringe all pro player right there in the slot. So yeah, I think they shouldn't trade him, because like you said, now we're looking at a situation where, oh my God, Dre Greenlaw again. What if like now it's like, wait, you let Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga go, and you let all these players go, you traded Ayuk, and all these guys are thriving. Like all of a sudden, I think with him, it's like, look, he's still young. It's not just simple ACL. He damaged his MCL, maybe something else. I don't know, but it's MCL, so his knee's fairly destroyed. But I think that's one, like, you just gotta live with what you paid for. It sucks. It's unfortunate, but you're gonna have to try to bank and hope he's the guy that eventually returns. It probably won't be this year. Maybe it's 2026. But I think it's not worth the 4th round, 5th round pick you're gonna get unless someone actually somehow is freaking insane. You know what? I can see them trading him mid-season. That's the only time.
Yeah.
I don't think now's the time.
But then when you trade him mid-season, you already gave him $22 million for nothing.
Part, yeah.
That's the thing. It's like you got to get your owners to sign off on it. And it's like, well, we'd love to trade him today because we don't want to pay him $22 million. But if we have to pay him $22 million, then maybe we don't want to just give him away.
It feels like they're going to hate trade. Like, you don't play fantasy football, but in fantasy football, people hate trade, where someone does not go off for them in a needed matchup, or at least for a couple of weeks. And it's like, wait, you want to trade him just because you had a dud? Get him off my team, and I can give him to them for an apple and some crackers. Like, what the heck? Like, okay, cool. Like, they're going to hate trade in fantasy football. For anyone watching, you guys all know there's always someone, maybe you're that person, who hate trades away, or frustrate or anger, who rage trades. Rage trades, there we go. Not hate trade, it's rage trading.
Yeah.
Because they really do not like it. They did not like the contract they gave him. They feel like they took him for a loop. And even the Bosa one, too. It was just all crazy. It's like, look, again, you guys are the ones that put yourselves in the situation. You have no one to blame but themselves. Like, these players are going to do what they're going to do.
Here's why I think they're going to trade Ayuk, and I think they're going to do it now. If they can find a guy, maybe that's easier said than done. They could have given Demarcus Robinson a 1-year deal, but they gave him a 2-year deal. He's not just here to fill in while Ayuk's out. Plus, he's facing a pending suspension, potentially, because of an arrest for DUI. So he could be out while Ayuk's out. It seems like he's here for more than just 1 year, potentially. And that makes me wonder if the Niners are hopeful, beyond hopeful, confident that they can trade Ayuk. I don't know.
And then, honestly, you also have to look. I know we talked about last week in terms of 1st round pick, but let's just say, like, oh, they're only going to get like a 4th. Get like a 4th. Like, who's the team who'd be willing? Okay, with the Patriots still would be willing, right? They just had Stephon Diggs on a visit today. So I personally, if you're the Patriots, like, why would I not just give up a 4th? Maybe they're rebuilding. A 4th is still pretty high, but it's like, yeah, but at least, Ayuk's like a younger player and better.
Diggs is running. Ayuk isn't running. Diggs is running. At least you could get Diggs in the OTAs.
Yeah.
Dazza says, with Juice coming back and the Niners letting Dre go, does this cause division between Fred and Cabo Click? Defense versus offense.
See what you do.
I don't know. I mean, it might. I don't know. Be interesting. Be interesting to know.
I'm not bought into that divisiveness.
Shardal says, hi, Grant and Jose. Hope you're both doing well? Question mark?
I hope you're doing better.
I hope you're doing better. Shardal. Hate or debate? Sports Talk says, Grant, what's up, bro? Jay Sanchez, hey, stopping by the show, love, and ask, when can I get you guys on a hate or debate episode? It should be Liddy. You guy, Beatman Pete, aka Petey Boy, go cop that new Blind Fury album also. Hater debate, sports talk. We could get something done. Let me get back from the owners thing first.
Hey. The player haters ball, y'all.
Hot take: Cowing will be unguardable in the offseason. We will all look back and ask why he wasn't playing. Demo and Green are good DBs, and good DNs accelerate the development of young wide receivers. DBs accelerate the development of good. Okay. I like Cowing. He has been explosive.
I definitely could see like in training camp when you're there for most of them, and I'll only be there for 2 because they're always hating. Is like you'd be like, I can already picture like on the stream. It's like, yeah, like freaking like Jacob Conley's been looking nice. Like, he's gonna be one of those players like he's looking nice, and like they don't run him enough with the ones. So it's gonna be one of those situations. I already know it. I predict it. My training camp prediction is that, and then you're gonna be right here on your Twitter. On your Twitter is like the 49ers are not playing Jacob Conley.
You know who he is? He's the new Richie James.
Oh God! Don't disrespect Jacob Conley like that. Come
Richie
on.
James was good. Richie James had a career. I always thought Richie James was underrated. Like, should have been getting the Dante Pettis snaps all along. Okay. You were in the weeds yesterday.
Oh God, this thing, I forgot about this.
On X, Twitter. And you said something like very mild, like pretty like, I mean, fair about Brock Purdy. And just we're getting it from all. Can you tell people what happened? And then I'll ask you, or just give me your take on Brock Purdy defenders in general. Super fans.
I really hate talking about this, but it's like it's gotten so out of hand. It's crazy. It reminds me of like back in the day when on your first streams when like you would go on Jimmy Garoppolo and you'd have Flav or whoever else just always in your mentions like every 39 seconds. This all I wrote about. Brock Purdy should not be lucratively extended. What does that mean? Don't pay him top of the market value. Don't put him in the Josh Allens. Don't put him in all these players. Don't make him like a top 6 to 8 paid quarterback. Don't fall. Oh, Dak Prescott's getting paid. Well, you know what? I don't care. That's a bad decision by the Cowboys. Don't do that. Be smarter. You're saying cash spending. Let's be smarter. He's coming off a down year. I'm not fully bought in yet. If he had a 2023 season and 2024 and better, sure, go ahead. But he didn't. He did not. Mm-hmm. If you extend him 45, even 50 a year, I'm not comfortable with 50, but if he did that, sure, why not? Don't do the 60 million annual. Don't give him 200 million guaranteed or even close to that. I like 170 guaranteed for his number. I don't like 200 or 190. And people ran with that and said, why do you think he's a terrible player? And I'm over there like, do I need glasses? Where did I say that? I do not understand the mildest of criticism or just any criticism of this guy. And people like Spidey senses, someone's talking about Purdy and it's not aligning with he's the GOAT. Yeah. Attack! That's
you don't think he's worth 60 million? So you're saying he's not as good as Trevor Lawrence? So you're saying he's not as good as Tua? So you're saying he's not as good as Dak?
People were saying
I'm also saying that Josh. I'm not saying Josh Allen's worse than Dak because Josh Allen makes less than Dak. I'm just saying that there are some awful, ridiculous quarterback contracts out there, and the Niners don't have to be giving out the next one.
Sorry, I don't want your team because I'm not a fan of any team. I'm sorry, I don't want your team to make what I believe would be a bad business decision. And maybe it's right. And maybe they ended up looking good in their favor. Sure, then I'll be like, damn, I ate that one for sure. But like, we can't. You honestly, like, I don't even care if people think he's worth that. I just think it's funny. It's like I damn near said he's the worst quarterback in the league. I remember when Mac Jones came and I was over here saying like, oh yeah, I wrote about he was going to be a target and they were going to sign him. And now it's like interesting because he's a contingency for a potential Purdy holdout. I don't think he's going to hold out. A potential Purdy holdout. And someone said like, I can't believe you think he's a worse player. Mac Jones is better. It's like, where did I say that? People, and it's always funny in these situations because as much as they want to say like us or you, whoever's talking about him, criticizing him, or we're negative, we only want to poo-poo on him. It's like, look, when I praise him, I don't hear nothing from you guys. When I say criticism, you guys come all in the woodwork, all in my line. And it's like, it's hilarious. It's like you guys feed into the negativity. You love the negativity. I don't. Right. I keep it both ways. If you look at my articles, it's both sides. I said he was an optimizing figure 2 years ago. And God forbid I start criticizing him like, oh, he had a bad game against the Browns. He did not. He was great. No, he sucked. He was bad. He was not good. He's not. He has bad games, even this past season. I do not think he had a bad season. I think he had a down season and regressed. Does not mean I think he was bad or terrible. He had bad games, bad stretches, bad moments. Ultimately, he wasn't great. I didn't like investing that money. So I just think it's hilarious to see people so up in arms and it's just like, I don't really remember it getting this bad for the Jimmy Garoppolo talk, man. To me, it's just funny. It's just funny to see people like that. And it's just like, just call me an effing idiot or something like that. Just do that. Say something like that, like you don't know what you're talking about, but don't say like, don't put words in my mouth. Don't change what I'm saying. That's the thing that's like gets a little annoying. It's like, I didn't say that. If you're going to call me an idiot or anything, I don't care about that, but at least do something that I talked about. Like people took that article I wrote, Grant, and just pretty much thought it was a smear campaign.
What I don't get with the Brock Purdy discussion is like his biggest defenders will act like last year didn't matter.
Yes.
as if he's like some 10-year vet and last year was just some outlier. It's like, hold on, man. He's only played 2 full seasons. One of them was really good. One of them really wasn't. So what are we talking about? I mean, how can you just say he's a great quarterback when he? And this is the Niners' issue. They've given out way too many of these contracts to dudes who've had like one great year. Bosa was one of them.
Debo.
I mean, Debo was one of them. Ayuk was one of them. Essentially, like they gotta. I think it's okay in certain cases to take your time and acknowledge that you don't really know fully who the guy is yet. We've seen 2.5 years of Brock Purdy, but we don't know if he's more the guy in 2023 or the guy in 2024. It's hard to say. I don't know. Don't.
Yes. That's why I'm like, if the 49ers want to have him play on his deal or even a short-term deal, I'm for that because it's like his last year was just like that was a little scary. And the pushback could be he did it without he played without his stars. Like, yeah, that's exactly what it's gonna look like.
What do you think the future holds? Yeah.
I don't like look, I'd never say he's a bad player. I think he's a solid player. I think he's a top 10 through 12, closer to 12 player, which is cool.
He might be the 12th best quarterback in the league. Exactly. That's pretty fair. Yeah.
Look, that means you could say more than half the teams would take him. Definitely. Yeah, they would. I just think it's just always the same thing about like the thing about putting words in your mouth. Like I didn't say that. Like it went from saying he's not worth this much money to like, I can't believe you don't think he should be extended. And then it started getting to like, well, if he was drafted in the second round, you would think he should get extended. Like, what the hell does his draft status from 3 years ago have to do with anything now? You mean to tell me because he was the last pick in the draft 3 years ago is why I do not believe or why anyone doesn't believe he should be lucratively extended and not because he had a down season last year? Like, that just blows my mind. Like, the moment you become a starter, the draft status, the moment he was a starter in 2023, his draft status went out the window. It didn't matter anymore. Now we're looking at you from a standard franchise starting quarterback. And right now, I don't know if he is one or if he isn't. I don't know. Like, again, if he had a similar season in 2023, I'd be like, oh, yeah, for sure. If you want to extend him top dollar, I still think probably that's a little expensive. But, like, you know what? If you got to overpay a little bit, sure. But I think if you give him that contract now, I think that's a pretty vastly overpaid that you're looking at.
And it's a bad precedent to set.
Yes.
Like, hey, man, you could come to the negotiating table off a pretty down year and miss the playoffs, and we'll pay you because you were good 1 year before that.
That was a pretty bad article. That was pretty much the point of the article. It's like, look, so we're gonna reward top dollar contract to a guy who came off a down year. Like now it's like, shoot, if I'm I don't know, Jair Brown, I'm just like, hey, look, I can go get this extension. I wasn't great last year. You guys paid him out, but because you liked me as a rookie, whatever. I just think it's like it's fascinating. The Purdy conversation is so fascinating. I want to see more from him because I see how good he can be when he's at his highs. But we saw last season how bad he can be at his lows, which was the Rams, Dolphins, Lions game, and a couple early games I couldn't forget. But especially those 3 ones are what come to mind for me. It's just insane. Like you cannot criticize the guy, and it's going back to Jimmy Garoppolo, where it's like you guys are having this not mirage effect, but like stuck in the desert for days, and the first bottle of water you get is the Arrowhead water. Arrowhead water is disgusting, but it's good because you haven't drank water in forever, and you're in the heat. So it's all refreshing. It's like, no, I cherish this. I want it. That's my Brock Purdy. Like, it's just.
That's the other thing with his resume, too. People be like, well, look what he's done in the playoffs. It's like, yeah, but look what Jimmy did in the playoffs with the same team, and Jimmy's not good. And yeah, Brock is definitely better than Jimmy, but you can't just throw his wins and losses in the playoffs at me and be like, boom, proof. Like, that's what the Raiders thought when they signed Jimmy, and they learned in a month and a half that it meant absolutely nothing.
Terrible.
Nothing. So I still see a guy that had one really good year, a nice half a year before that, and a year that was forgettable. I'd like to see one more before and I think from his perspective, hey man, if the best I can do is get some mid-level contract, let's talk next year because I'm going to come back and kill it. I am the truth. It wasn't my fault last year. I'll prove it.
Yeah, I think that would be like some nice mentality.
That's what Lamar would do.
The 49ers have all the leverage too here in the first place. You know, like if you're like, again, I would say like if he goes out there, plays the final year of his deal and plays as well as 2023 or better, whatever, he plays better than last year, I'd be like, cool. Now you feel comfortable paying him that top dollar because he went out there and he did it. He made sure last year was a blip. I would be like, yes, sign him. But he didn't have that type of season. And people throw around these numbers like he was 7th in EPA, whatever. Like, yeah, that's great. I'm sure his numbers to me like are not high or low to me. It's what I watched in some of his decision makings, the holding of the ball, and like it's all of a sudden his down season, everyone brings down the other players around him. They bring down the players around him. 2023, he's the reason why they got to the Super Bowl. He led them. No, he didn't lead them. He was a part of it. He factored into it. He didn't lead them. Did we not just forget about Christian McCaffrey and the other 5 freaking All-Pros? Like, you're disrespecting those other players? That's where I start getting like, what are you talking about? Like, don't say he led them. He factored into it. He played a role. He played a part. He was a reason. He was not the reason. Because when you say he led them, he was the reason, right? So, and then last year, the same thing. Like, oh, the offensive line was terrible. It was subpar. It wasn't great. Sure, they should upgrade there. They need more help there. But from what I see on Next Gen Stat, he had the 6th, 7th highest time to throw in the league. So he's holding the ball too long, and he had a top 10 pressure rate. So, okay, cool. So your offensive line did a good enough job, but you were holding the ball too long. You held the ball too long, and it aligns with other stats that he was one of the top players who would have air yards, attempt past the sticks. I know for a majority of the season because he was looking for the big play. He was doing too much. He was thinking too much. His decision-making was really bad. That's my biggest gripe about him. His decision-making was too much. He was good with mobile. Overall, he had solid plays. I just feel like we need to hold him to a higher standard. And it's too much like of bringing down the bar. Like talking about his accomplishments. He's been to his playoff games. It's like, you know what? Like he never was great in most of these playoff games. You know, the first playoff game, Seattle, he was bad in the first half. He bounced back second half. Last year, Packers game, he wasn't great for most of that game. Detroit NFC Championship game, he threw a bad pick on their own side of the field to set up the Lions for a score. It's just, there's just a lot for me to still want to see from him. You know, like for me, be comfortable at that number and for the 49ers to be a thriving football team, a perfectly thriving football team, an optimal one.
Agree. Official BNA Music 88 says people who have concussions are stars too. Typo, LOL, I'm not concussed like Juice.
Oh, God.
Concussion sins. Hunter Bassler says, yo, what's up with the WAG drama? Sydney Warner upset with Kristen B. Ingram's SK report, the real news. What? Sydney Warner's upset with Kristen?
Who's Kristen? Juszczyk? I don't know who's Ingram, but I remember I did see like several days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. I don't know. I saw something about like something about comments I'm following. You know, some of that little like 18, 25-year-old stuff about social media, and I'm just like, I don't know if there was unfollowing and like certain like discussions. I don't know. There's something about that. Something about that. I don't know if it's enough credence. I haven't seen it, but I saw a little chatter around the block.
Well, hold on. This is from a week ago. This is an article on
Yahoo.
That's
several days ago then.
Sydney Warner has fans raising their eyebrows. Wife of San Francisco player Fred Warner uploaded a series of celebratory posts to her Instagram stories on Monday, March 10, the same day her husband's teammate, Kyle Juszczyk, was released from the NFL franchise. The happiest of Mondays, Sydney 29 wrote over an image that featured a cup of coffee, adding a black heart emoji to the text. Shortly after, she uploaded another Instagram stories post with cryptic text. And the day just keeps getting better. Celebratory Diet Coke. The Bachelor alum wrote over an image of the soda being poured into it. She was in The Bachelor? Rare Earths, I Just Want to Celebrate was the backing music. Not long after the first 2 slides were uploaded, Sydney shared a third post with the text, "A glorious evening." The post featured a photo of a TV screen and a bag of pretzels placed on her couch. Damn, that's petty, dude. What do you think? Why? Who knows? Who knows?
It just sounds like a little high school stuff, like Mean Girl situation or something like that. I'm just like that. That's not warranted my attention. It's like, hey, more. I mean, if it leaks into like the husbands, that's when I start getting interested. Like, okay, damn, we got. I don't mean
to like generalize too much, but I've always kind of felt that like guys can be like bros with each other pretty easily, and that girls generally don't like each other, even though they act like they do. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe there are girls who are friends with other girls, but I often feel like girls are so catty that it's not that uncommon that a couple wives might not like each other.
Yeah.
No offense to women and cats. That came off. There's a lot of people, but you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's maybe I'm wrong.
I don't like cats. I'm more of a dog person.
Well, shouldn't have said it. Interesting though. Sydney Warner. I'm gonna have to look into that one. Hater Debate Sports Talk says, Grant, I'm trying to be the next graduate of GC University. Best coaching tree ever. Chast, if you agree, type 1. Chat, if you agree, type 1. Sean says, can we stop the Ayuk slander? Dude got better every year. Had about 4,000 yards receiving after 4 seasons. He was an ascending player. You can argue he was more deserving than CMC Brock.
Yes.
Trade CMC.
So that reminds me of like how you said like Ayuk one not 1 year wonder, but like one amazing season. My thing, I advocated extending Ayuk last year because he kept getting better and
That's
better
true.
and better and
That is true.
walking the stairwell. And then
That's
he
true.
had that great season. So to me, it's like, dude, his arrow pointed up every
It was
year.
the
So that's why I was
culmination.
like fully bought in on Ayuk getting extended. The Debo Samuel one, I remember when his discussion, I was like, I was skewing towards saying extend him, but I also acknowledged like, yes, 2021, his 2020 year. It's like it's the lack of consistency in these years. And if you had those consistent years, that's when you start feeling comfortable about those top dollars. Everything changes when you start talking about the big sum because this is a salary cap driven league. It's certain you got to give somewhere and take from somewhere else. So it's just that my logic seems consistent to me because Ayuk was ascending. And I loved extending him. I loved it.
Ashley Ariana says, no, this has been going on for years with her and Claire too. You don't know. Wow. Claire Kittle and Kristen Juszczyk versus Sydney Warner.
Drama.
So does that mean that something happened in Cabo that they can't talk about because what happens in Cabo stays in Cabo, or is this a Santa Clara beef? I want to know. I feel like people know and they're not telling me, and it pisses me off. I want to know.
My night in Cabo with the Shanahan. That's right, the Cabo.
But you can't like go up to the players and ask them about that kind of stuff. Like, so
no, you can't.
Fred, your wife was tweeting. That's off. That's out of bounds.
Oh yeah, that's out of pocket. Like
out of pocket, out of bounds, all of those things.
What are you doing?
All right, it's time for me to go lift weights and work out. I'm big into fitness. I'm a serious athlete. Thanks for, don't give me that face. Thanks for being here, everyone. Jose, good stuff, as always. The name of our show changes every time, just a little bit. I want people to know it. Today, it's all Niners talk. Next week, it could be something else. But I liked all Niners talk today because all we talked about was Niners. That's why I called it that.
Maybe next week we won't.
Maybe next week we won't.
Maybe next week will be the San Francisco 49ers to talk about. There's a difference.
Yeah, maybe that. Stay tuned.